Now say they're asking determine the time of supply in each of the following independent cases in accordance with the provisions of section 12 of the CGST Act in case recipient of goods is liable to pay tax under reverse charge. Now a date of issue of invoice is 1st of October. Then the date of receipt of goods is 5th of October. RCM here, tax is to be levied under RCM. It is date of receipt of goods. What will be the time of supply? Date of receipt of goods, it is 5/10. Date of payment, that is when the payment has been made in the books or when the payment has been debited in his bank account, whichever say earlier of 1 or 2. Number 1 is this, number 2 is 10/10, and number 3 is 31st day from the date of invoice. 31st day from the date of invoice. 30 days expires on 31st of October. So it will be 1st of November. 1st of November. Whichever is earliest. Whichever is earliest. Here the time of supply in this particular case, the time of supply will be earliest of the three. What is the earliest of this? It will be 5/10. Earliest will be 5/10. So time of supply will be 5/10. In this, so it's first 5/10 will be the time of supply. Now here the date of invoice is on 1st of October. Date of receipt of goods is on 15th of October. In second case, the date of receipt of goods is on 15th of October. It is when? It is on the 15th of October. Date of payment is same. 10/10 will be the date of payment. And 31st day from date of invoice. Invoice date is also same. So it will be 1st of November. Is the 31st day from the date of invoice. In this situation, what will be the time of supply? Date of payment. Here 10/10. Here 10/10 will be the time of supply. Here 10/10 will be the time of supply. In next is date of invoice is on 1st of October. Date of receipt of goods is on 15th of October. Date when the payment has been entered in the books is 12/10, and date when the payment has been debited from a bank account on 10/10. So here the answer will remain same. The answer will be the date of payment, that is 10/10. Then in the last case, here the date of issue of invoice is on 1st of October. Date of receipt of goods is on 15th of November. Date of receipt is on 15th of November. So first point is the date of receipt of goods, that is on 15th of November. Date of payment is 18th or 20th, whichever say earlier. So it will be 18th of November. And 31st day from the date of invoice. 31st day from the date of invoice. 31st day from the date of invoice is 1st of November. 1st of November. Whichever is the earliest. So here 1st of November is the earliest. 1st of November is the earliest. Time of supply is what? 1st of November. Time of supply is 1st of November. Time of supply is say 1st of November. So one is, first one was 5th, then it was 10th, then it was 10th, then again 10th, and then it is 1st of November. 5th, 10th, 10th, and 1st of November. This is our RCM cases. Now they say that determine the time of supply from the given information. Supplier invoices the goods taxable on basis of the reverse charge basis to Bridge and Company. So here date of invoices, when the supplier invoices the same, it is on 4th of May. 4th of May. And 30 days period expires on which day? So here 31 minus 27 days for May, for plus 3 days for June. So 31st day will be, 31st day is 4th of June. 31st day from date of invoice is 4th of June. Okay. The on 12/5, the bridge and company receives the goods. Date of receipt of goods is what? Date of receipt of goods is date of receipt of goods is 12/5. Date of receipt of goods is 12/5. And date of payment is 35. Date of payment is 35. And when the 31st day from date of invoices, 4th June. Earliest is 12th May. So in this case, TOS will be date of receipt of goods, that is 12th of May. 12th of May will be what? The time of supply. 12th of May will be what? The time of supply. Next, in respect of vouchers also, let us discuss in respect of vouchers. What is the time of supply in case of vouchers? When supply is identifiable, date of issuance of voucher. If supply is not identifiable, in that particular circumstance, it is what? When supply is, say, not identifiable, in that particular circumstance, what is the time of supply? The date of redemption of the vouchers. Now here, XYZ Limited has purchased for its customers 100 vouchers. 100 vouchers dated 24/12 worth ₹1,000 each from ABC Limited, a footwear manufacturing company. The vouchers were issued on 25/12. The vouchers can be encashed at the retail outlets of ABC Limited. So, but natural here, supply is identifiable. Supply is identifiable at the time of issuance of voucher. Supply is identifiable at a time of issuance of voucher. So here time of supply, because it can be purchased only for footwear. Time of supply will be about 25/12. 25/12. Even though the vouchers have been encashed on 1st of January, time of supply will be 25th of December. So it will be 25th of December. Tasty food meal coupons are sold by company on 25th of August for being distributed to employees of the said company. Validity of the coupons is for 6 months and can be used against purchase of food items. Now there can be so many variety of food items. The employee use them in various stores for purchase of various edible items on different dates throughout 6 months. Now here, what is the time of supply? In this case, since supply is not identifiable at the time of issuance of voucher, here in this case, time of supply will be the date of what? Redemption of voucher. It is the date of redemption of voucher. Then Miss Rima, purchase a gift voucher from Shoppers Stop, a department store worth ₹1,500 on 30th of October and gifted it to her friend on occasion of her birthday on 4th of November, and her friend encased the same on 1st of January. Now here, to purchase a handbag. Shoppers Stop is a departmental store, various items are there. Here also supply is not identifiable. At a time of issuance of voucher. At a time of issuance of voucher. So the time of supply in this case will be what? What will the time of supply? 1st of January. 1st of January will be the time of supply. Okay. Then one more question relating to special charges. X, a registered supplier, supplied certain goods to Y on 6 months credit with a penalty clause in the agreement, leaving a penalty of 5% of the invoice value in case of delayed payment. Penalty will be levied at rate of 5% of the invoice value. The invoice was dated 1st of November. Okay. Y could not make the payment on the due date due to unavoidable circumstances, reasons, and he has to, however, made the payment on 5th of May. Mr. X raises a debit note for the penalty amount, and they being dispute in the matter was in arbitration, and the same was finally resolved, and Mr. Y agreeing to pay half of the penalty amount. Half of the penalty amount. The amount was paid by Mr. Y on 12th of December. Determine time of supply. So basically time of supply in respect of goods will be 1st of November. That is the date of issuance of invoice. And in respect of, say, penalty, what is the time of supply? When the supplier receives addition in value, when the supplier receives addition in value, that is on 12th of December. 12th of December. So this was all about how you will be determining the time of supply in respect of goods. Time limit, say, for issuance of tax invoice in respect of services. We will be now determining time of supply in respect of services. For this determination of time of supply of services, we have to what? First of all, determine what? The time limit for issuance of invoice. Invoice provisions in respect of services. Invoice provisions in respect of services. Invoice provisions in respect of services. What are the invoice provisions in respect of services? Here, the invoice must be issued within 30 days. Invoice must be issued within, say, 30 days from the date of provision of service, completion of supply, completion of supply of service, So if the service supply gets completed on 1st of October, the latest time we are required to issue the invoice is on, say, 31st of October. But in case of banking company, financial institutions, NBFCs, in case of banking companies, financial institutions and NBFCs, the invoice must be issued within 45 days. Invoice must be issued within, say, 45 days from the completion of supply. From 45 days from the completion of supply. So basically, the invoice in case of taxable service, taxable supply of service, it must be issued within, say, 30 days from the date of supply of service. 30 days from the date of supply of service. And where the supplier of service is an insurer, supplier of service is an insurer, or say a banking company, or a financial institution, including NBFC, the invoice or the document in lieu thereof, because they can issue other document also, the same must be issued within, say, 45 days from the date of supply of service. Now, in case of cessation of service, prior to its completion, say we have entered into a contract to supply any service, but the supply so ceases before the completion of contract, to the extent of the supply so made, invoice must be issued on or before such cessation. Then in case of cessation of supply of service, in case of cessation of supply of service, before completion of supply, the invoice to the extent of supply made before such cessation, the invoice to the extent of supply made before such cessation, the same should be issued at a time when the supply, so when the supply ceases. It should be issued at a time when the supply ceases. Then in case of, say, continuous supply of service. What is continuous supply of service? Supply of service where you enter into a contract with the periodic payment obligations are there, and supply lasts for more than a period of, say, 3 months. Then in that particular circumstance, it is covered under the ambit of, say, continuous supply of service. So continuous supply of service means what? Continuous supply of service means what? A supply of service in which, which is basically provided or agreed to be provided, which is provided or agreed to be provided continuously, which is provided or agreed to be provided continuously or on recurrent basis, continuously or on recurrent basis under a contract for a period exceeding 3 months. Supply of service which is provided or agreed to be provided continuously or on recurrent basis under a contract for a period exceeding 3 months with periodic payment obligations, and includes supply of such service as the government may, subject to such conditions as its my notifications specify. Now, what are the invoice provisions in respect of continuous supply of service? What are the invoice provisions in respect of, say, continuous supply of service? So, in case where the due date of payment is ascertainable from the contract, where the due date of payment is ascertainable from the contract, the invoice is to be issued. The invoice is to be issued on or before the due date of payment. The invoice must be issued on or before what? The due date of payment. If due date of payment is ascertainable from the contract, the invoice must be issued on or before the due date of such payment. Then, where the due date of payment is not ascertainable from the contract, where due date of payment is not ascertainable from the contract, with due date of payment is not ascertainable from the contract, in that particular circumstance, the invoice must be issued before or at a time when the supplier receives the payment. The invoice must be issued before or at a time when the supplier receives the payment. The invoice must be issued before or at a time when the supplier receives the payment. And say, where the payment is linked to the completion of event, the invoice shall be issued on or before. The invoice must be issued on or before the date of completion of event. Invoice must be issued on or before the date of completion of the event. So that was in relation to the invoice provisions. Now section 13. Section 13, it is dealing with the provisions relating to determination of time of supply. Determination of time of supply in respect of services. Here also 13.2 is time of supply under forward charge mechanism. 13.3 is time of supply under a reverse charge mechanism. 13.4 is in relation to vouchers. 13.5 residuary cases, and 13.6 it is when the supplier receives addition in value. So here, so what section 13.1 provides is liability for payment of tax arises at the time of supply. So here, the liability to pay tax on services shall arise at a time of supply, and the same is to be determined in accordance with the provisions of this section. Same is to be determined in accordance with the provisions of this section. Now basically here, section 13.2, it deals with determination of time of supply in case of forward charge mechanism. 13.2 is dealing with what? Time of supply under forward charge mechanism. Forward charge mechanism. Determination of time of supply in case of, say, forward charge mechanism. Now here, what is the time of supply in respect of services? So, in case invoice is issued in accordance with provisions of section 31 within the timelines of section 31. Time of supply will be what? Date of invoice or date of payment, whichever is earlier. Now what is basically date of payment? Date of payment is what? The date of payment. Date of payment is the date when payment is entered in the books of accounts, when the payment is entered in the books of accounts, or when the payment is, say, credited in the bank account. Whichever is earlier. Whichever is earlier. Okay. So here, the time of supply of service shall be what? The earliest of the following dates. Basically, when invoice is issued within the time limit, it is the date of invoice or date of payment which was earlier. Date of payment will be what? The date when the payment is entered in the books of accounts, or the date when the payment is credited in bank account, which I said earlier. Then if invoice is not issued within time limit, if invoice is not issued within time limit, in that particular circumstance, time of supply will be the last date of provision of service, that is completion of supply of service, or date of payment, whichever is earlier. Let us discuss it. So here, what section 13 subsection 1 provides? Section 13 subsection 1 provides that liability to pay tax on services shall arise at the time of supply as determined in accordance with provisions of this section. Liability to pay tax on services shall arise at the time of supply as determined in accordance with provisions of this section. And the time of supply shall be earliest of the following dates. Time of supply shall be what? Earliest of the following dates. That is what? Number 1, the date of issue of invoice by the supplier. The date of issue of invoice by the supplier if invoice is issued within the period prescribed under section 31. That is within 30 days of, say, completion of supply. If invoice is issued within 30 days of completion of say supply, or say the date of receipt of payment, or the date of receipt of payment, whichever is earlier. Then, in case the invoice is not issued within the time limit, the time of supply will be what? The date of provision of service, the date of provision of service, date of provision of service, if the invoice is not issued within the period prescribed under section 31, or the date of receipt of payment, or the date of receipt of payment, whichever is, say, earlier. And the date on which the recipient shows the receipt of services, the date on which the recipient shows receipt of services in books of accounts, in case where provisions of clause A and or say clause B do not apply. If the provisions of clause A and B do not apply, it is what? The date on which the recipient shows the receipt of services in the books of accounts. Okay. So date on which the recipient shows the receipt of service in books of accounts in case the provisions of A and B do not apply. So it is under forward charge mechanism. Now here the supply shall be deemed to have been made to the extent it is covered by invoice, or as the case may be the payment. Supplies shall be deemed to have been made to the extent it is covered by the invoice, or as the case may be the date of payment. Now what is basically the date of receipt of payment? The date of receipt of payment shall be the date on which the payment is entered in the books of accounts. Payment is entered in the books of accounts of the supplier. Payment is entered in the books of accounts of the supplier, or the date when the payment is credited in his bank account, which I said earlier. Here they have further provided that in case if you receive small advances up to ₹1,000, you will not be required to pay GST at the time of receipt of advance. It will be required to be paid. When you issue the invoice for such subsequent supply. So where the supplier of taxable service receives an amount up to 1,000 in excess of the amount indicated in the tax invoice, the time of supply to the extent of such excess amount, shall at the option of the said supplier, be the date of issue of invoice relating to such excess amount. Now here, the time of supply, a circular has been issued that in case of development rights are transferred, that is development rights or floor space index for long-term lease of construction of residential or commercial apartments. The time of supply will be what? Arise at the time of what? The issuance of completion certificate or its first occupation, because GST will be payable at that time only, and the same is payable by developer in reverse charge mechanism. So the central government has issued a notification in this regard that the following classes of registered persons, they are the promoters, they are receiving the development rights or floor space index, including additional FSI for construction of a project against consideration payable or paid by him wholly or partly in form of construction service of commercial or residential apartments in the project, or say in any other form indicating cash, or say the promoter who receives long-term lease of land on or after 1/4/2019 for construction of residential apartments in project against consideration paid in form of upfront amount. It may be called premium, salami, cost price, development charge, or by any other name. Okay, as a registered person, and the liability to pay central tax shall arise on the consideration paid by him in form of construction service or monetary consideration paid by him for supply of development rights, upfront amount paid by him in respect of long-term lease of land relating to construction of residential apartment, or supply of construction service by him against consideration in form of development rights. The same will arise on the date of issuance of completion certificate of the project or date of first occupation, which I will say earlier. So under forward charge mechanism, time of supply will arise if the invoice is issued within time limit, date of issuance of invoice or date of payment, which is earlier. If invoice is not issued within time limit, date of completion of supply or 31st or say date of receipt of payment, which I will say earlier under forward charge mechanism. Now let us discuss the practical questions. Now determine the time of supply in each of the following independent cases in accordance with the provisions of the CGST Act. Say date of actual provision of service is on 10/11. Date of issuance of invoice is on 30/11. Invoice is issued within time limit. Invoice is issued, say, within time limit. And date on which the payment is received is on 15/12. Date on which payment is received is on, say, 15/12. So here, since the invoice is issued within 30 days of provision of service, what will be the time of supply? Time of supply is date of invoice or date of payment, whichever is earlier. So time of supply in this case will be 30/11. Time of supply in this case will be 30/11. Time of supply will be, TOS will be 30/11. Then here, the next question. Date of actual provision of service is on 10/11. Date of actual provision of service is on 10/11. Date of issuance of invoice is on 30/11. Date of issuance of invoice is on 30/11. And date of receipt of payment is on 15/11. Now, invoice is issued within time limit. Invoice is issued within time limit. Time of supply is date of invoice or date of payment, which is earlier. Here the time of supply will be 15/11. Time of supply will be 15/11. Okay. Next is the date of provision of service is on 10/11. Date of provision of service is on 10/11. Date of invoice, bill or challan as the case may be, is on 30/11. Now here part payment has been received on 15/11 and the remaining part has been received on 10/12. So to the extent of the payment so received, to the extent of payment so received on 15/11, time of supply will be 1511. And for balance payment, time of supply will be date of invoice. Time of supply will be the date of issuance of invoice, that is 3011. Now here, next, the date of actual provision of service is on 1011. Date of actual provision of service is on 1011. Date of issuance of invoice is on 3011. The invoice is issued within time limit. Now here, part payment has been received on 611 and part payment has been received on 911. Advance is received. Here, advance is received. So time of supply will be 611 and 911. Time of supply will be 611 and say 911. Then in this case, date of provision of service is 1011. Date of issuance of invoice is 3011. Here this part has been received on 611. This part is received on 611 and the remaining part on 1611. So to the extent of the, part which has been received on 611, time of supply will be 611. And for the remaining part it will be what? 1611. For the remaining part it will be 1611. Then next is the date of actual provision of service is on 1011. Date of actual provision of service is on 1011. Date of issuance of invoice is on 12/12. Date of say issuance of invoice is on 12/12. And the date when payment has been received is on 34. Now since here the invoice has not been issued within 30 days of supply of service. Invoice has not been issued within 30 days of supply of service. Time of supply will be what? The last date of provision of service, that is 1011, or date of receipt of payment, that is 34 of the next year, whichever earlier, it will be 1011. It will be what? 1011. Then it is 1011, it is the date of provision of service. Invoice is not issued within 30 days. It is issued on 12/12 and part payment has been received on 5/11 and remaining part on 25/12. So to the extent of payment which has been received on 5/11, time of supply will be 5/11, and for balance payment, TOS will be 1011. For balance payment, TOS will be what? 1011. Then 1011, 22/12 and 12/12. 1011, 22/12 and 12/12. 1011, 22/12 and 12/12. Here, in this case, since the invoice is not issued within, say, 30 days of completion of supply, the time of supply is date of invoice or date of payment, which is earlier. So in this case, for the entire amount, the time of supply will be 1011. This is 1011. Now, let us discuss one more question. Determine the time of supply from the following particulars. Determine time of supply from the following particulars. Now here, booking of the convention hall. Sum agreed is 15 lakhs. Advance is received 1,01,000. So for 1,01,000, advance so received. Time of supply will be what? 25/7. time of supply will be 25/7. Then the event is held in the convention hall on 10/11. Event is held in the convention hall on 10/11. So that is date of completion of supply. Date of completion of supply. It is date of completion of supply. Invoice is issued on 15/11. Sorry, 2012. Invoice is issued on 2012. We have to see whether the invoice is issued within 30 days of completion of supply or not. Whether invoice is issued within 30 days. So how many days? For November it is 30 minus 10, 20 days for November, and 10 days for December. So the invoice must be issued within 30 days of the completion of supply, within 30 days. That is up to 30th, up to 10th of December. But here the invoice has not been issued on 10th of December, it has been issued on 20th of December. So the time of supply for balance payment of 13,99,000 will be the date of completion of supply, that is on date of completion of supply, that is on 10/11. That is on 10/11. So okay. So here, as per section 31, read with rule 47 of the CGST rules, the tax invoice is to be issued within 30 days of supply of service. In given case, the invoice is not issued within time limit. So as per 13(2)(b), in case invoice is not issued within time limit, what is the time of supply? It is the date of provision of service or the date of receipt of payment, which was earlier. Therefore, for 1,01,000 rupees, the time of supply will be 25/7, and for the balance payment, balance amount, the date of completion of supply, 13,99, the time of supply will be what? 10 lakh, 10/11. Okay. Next question is Interiors Limited. Interiors Limited receives the order and advance payment on 25 January. Advance payment on 25 January for carrying out architectural design job. For carrying out architectural design job. It delivers a design on 30 April. Okay. It receives the order and advance payment. By oversight, no invoice is issued at that time, and is invoice issued much later after the expiry of the period prescribed for issuance of invoice. What is the time of supply? So in case invoice is not issued within time limit, time of supply will be date of provision of service, or date of receipt of payment, whichever is earlier. So date of provision of service here is 2034. 34 is the date of receipt of, say, provision of service, and date of receipt of payment is 25/1. Your time of supply will be 25/1. Time of supply will be 25/1. Now here next is, from the following information, determine the time of supply of service. From the following information, determine the time of supply of service. Supply is basically continuous supply of service, where contract provides for monthly payment up to 15th of the succeeding month. So basically here, in case of continuous supply of service, when due date of payment is ascertainable from contract. Is ascertainable from contract if due date of payment is ascertainable from contract. Time of supply is what? Time limit for issuance of invoices. Time limit for issuance of invoice. For issuance of invoice will be what? The on or before the due date. Due date. So let us see. Now here, the date of provision of service in the books of accounts is on 30/11. Invoice date is on 7/12. Due date as per the payment contract is 15/12. So since the invoice has been issued on or before the due date, time of supply will be what? Date of invoice or date of payment, whichever is earlier. So in this case, time of supply will be 7/12. In first case, the time of supply will be 7/12. In first case, it will be 7/12. Then next 31/12 is the date of provision of service. Due date as per the payment is, as per the contract is 15/1. Invoice must be issued, say, invoice must be issued on or before 15th of January. Since the invoice has not been issued, on or before the particular date, okay, the time of supply will be the date of the provision of service or the date of receipt of payment, say whichever is say earlier. Date of provision of service or date of receipt of payment, which is earlier. So in this case, the time it will be what? 31st of December. Then in the last case, the due date is 15/2. Invoice date is also 15/2. So invoice has been issued within time limit. So it will be date of invoice or date of payment, which was earlier. It is date of invoice or date of payment, whichever is earlier. So it will be 11/2. Okay. Now here next is Swachhata and companies engaged in supply of cleaning services in the residential premises. Investigation shows that Swachhata and company carried out service of cleaning and repairs of tanks of Kamal Housing Society, for which the Kamal Housing Society showed cash payment on 25/12 to them against this work of this description. The dates of works are not clear from the records of Swachhata and Company, and Swachhata and Company, they have not issued the invoice or entered the payment in their accounts. So here, in this case, where as per the provisions of 13(2)(a) or B, the time of supply cannot be determined, then what will be the time of supply? It will be date of receipt of, basically, it is the date when the recipient shows the receipt of services in the books of accounts. Date when the recipient shows the receipt of services in his books of accounts. This is this case. The date when the recipient shows the receipt of services in his books of accounts. So in this particular case, the time of supply will be what? The time of supply in this particular case will be the date when the recipient shows the receipt of services in his books, that is on 25/12. On 25/12. So that was what practical questions of determination of time of supply under forward charge mechanism. Now the next is determination of time of supply of services when supplies are taxed under reverse charge basis. So here what is reverse charge? Where the recipient of service is required to pay GST. When the recipient of service is required to pay GST. Now, what is the time of supply of service? Here, it is a date of payment. Date of payment. Or, if payment is not made within 60 days from the date of issuance of invoice, it will be 61st day from date of invoice, whichever is say earlier. Whichever is earlier. Simply, in case of supplies in respect of which tax is liable to be paid, tax is paid or liable to be paid on reverse charge basis, the time of supply shall be earlier of the following dates. Namely, it is the date of payment. What is the date of payment? What is basically the date of payment? What is the date of payment? The date of payment as entered in the books of accounts of recipient, the date of payment as entered books of accounts of recipient, or the date on which payment is debited in his bank account, or the date on which payment is debited in his bank account, whichever is say earlier. The date of payment as entered in the books of accounts of recipient, or date on which payment is debited in his bank account, whichever is say earlier. Okay. Or the date immediately following, 60 days, date immediately following, 60 days from the date of issuance of invoice or any other document in lieu thereof by whatever name called. 61st day from date of invoice. Okay. Earlier of the same. And in case where it is not possible to determine the time of supply as per the above provisions, if you cannot determine the time of supply as per the above provisions, then the time of supply shall be the date of entry in the books of accounts of the recipient of supply. Date of entry in the books of accounts of recipient of supply. It's the date of entry in the books of accounts of recipient of supply. Then the time of supply in case of say associated enterprise. What is the time of supply in case of say associated enterprise? Associated enterprise is the same meaning assigned to in section 92A of the Income Tax Act. They are related enterprise. Say XYZ Inc. and ABC Limited will be regarded as associated enterprise. Say if 26% or more of voting power is with the one of the entities with the other entity, board management and the criteria are there. So in case of associated enterprise, if we are receiving any service from associated enterprise, import of service is liable to be taxed under RCM. So in case of supply by an associated enterprise, where the supplier of service is located outside India, the time of supply shall be the date of entry. The date of entry in the books of accounts of recipient of supply, date of entry in books of accounts of recipient of supply, or date of payment, whichever say earlier. So say for example, ABC Limited receives legal consultancy service from PDS Advocates, and the PDS Advocates is issuing invoice on 1st of October. They are issuing invoice on 1st of October. In first situation, the payment which has been made by ABC is on 15th of December, and in the second situation, the payment is made, say, on 10th of November. 10th of November. So here, if payment is to be made within, say, if it is not made within 60 days from date of invoice, so 30 days for October, 30 days for November, this is October, this is November. So here, the TOS will be 61st day from the date of invoice, that is 1st of December. And in second case, when the payment has been made up to 30th of November, TOS will be what? The date of payment, that is 10th of November. That is 10th of November. Now, in case of associated enterprise, if services are received from associated enterprise, the time of supply is the date of entry in the accounts of the recipient of supply, or the date of payment, say, which I was say earlier. Now, these practical questions we'll be discussing afterwards. Here, the time of supply in respect of vouchers, same as of section 12(4). As of goods, as of service, they are same. In case of supply of vouchers by supplier, so where the supply is identifiable at the time of issuance of voucher, the time of supply will be the date of issuance of voucher. If supply is not identifiable, it will be the date of redemption of voucher. It will be the date of redemption of voucher. If the date of redemption of voucher. Then in residuary cases, same as of 13(5), 12(5), they remain same. In residuary cases, in case where periodical return has to be filed, it is the due date of filing periodical return. And if periodical return is not filed, then date of payment of tax. It is the date of payment of tax. So where it is not possible to determine the time as per the above provisions, where it is not possible to determine the time of supply as per the above provisions. So in case where periodical return has to be filed, it is the date on which the return is to be filed. And in any other case, it will be the date on which the tax is being paid. Then 13(6) is same as of 12(6). When the supplier receives addition in value, say interest, penalty, late charges, time of supply is the date when the supplier receives the addition in value. So the time of supply to the extent it relates to an addition in value of supply. It relates to an addition in value of supply by way of interest, late fees or penalty. Interest, late fees or penalty for delayed payment of consideration. For delayed payment of consideration, it shall be the date on which the supplier receives the addition in value. It is the date when the supplier receives the addition in value. So when we see the provisions relating to determination of time of supply in respect of services, so first of all, if the services are chargeable to tax under forward charge mechanism, and the invoice is issued within time limit, that is within 30 days from the date of provision of service. So here the time of supply is what? The date of issuance of invoice or date of receipt of payment, which was earlier. What is date of receipt of payment? The date when the payment has been entered in the books of accounts of the recipient of supply, or the date when the payment has been credited in his bank account. Date when is credited in his bank account, earlier of the same, that will be the time of supply. Then time of supply of services under forward charge mechanism when the invoice is not issued within the time specified under section 31. When the invoice is not issued within the time specified under section 31, it is the date of provision of service or date of recording the payment in the books of accounts of supplier, date of provision of service, or date of recording the payment in the books of accounts of the supplier, or the date when the payment has been credited in the bank account, or the date when the payment has been credited in the bank account. So which I will say earlier. Then in case the services are taxed, this was under, we have discussed under section 13, 2, these both. Then 13.3, when the services are taxed under reverse charge mechanism, what is the time of supply? The date of recording of the payment the date of recording of the payment in the books of accounts of the recipient, or the date when the payment has been debited from the bank account of the recipient, the date when the payment has been debited in the bank account of the recipient, or it is 61st day from the supplier's invoice, which is earlier, or 61st day from the supplier's invoice, which I say earlier. Then time of supply of vouchers exchangeable for services, time of supply of vouchers exchangeable for services. It is the date of issuance of voucher if supply is identifiable at that point. It is the date of issuance of voucher if supply is, say, identifiable at that point, or date of redemption of vouchers in other cases, or date of the redemption of vouchers in other cases. That is 13(4). Then, in case residual cases, what will be the time of supply? The due date of furnishing of periodical return, the due date of furnishing of periodical return. On any other case, the date on which tax is paid. And if supplier receives addition in value, if the supplier, say, receives addition in value, the time of supply is the date on which the supplier so receives such addition in value. So here, this we have discussed about the determination of time of supply in respect of services. We will now discuss the remaining practical questions. So let us discuss the practical questions, first of all, of RCM. It's nothing. Golden Industries Limited is engaged the services of Sandhu Transporters for road transport of consignment on 25/12 and made advance payment for transport on the same date. The date of payment has already been provided. Date of payment is 25/12. Date of payment is 25/12. However, the consignment could not be sent immediately on account of strike in the factory, and instead it was sent on 20th of January. Consignment was sent on 20th of January. That is date of supply of service. Date of supply of service. And the invoice was received on 22nd. Invoice was received on 22nd. Okay, on 22nd. Now, what is the time of supply of transporter service? Transporter service is taxed on RCM. So here, the time of supply is date of payment or 61st day from date of invoice, whichever is earlier. Here date of payment is but natural earlier. TOS will be what? The date of payment. Date of payment is 25/12. 25/12. Okay. Let us discuss the next question. Rajesh of Assam received some taxable services from L'Oreal Enterprises of UK on 1st of December. Okay. For which invoice was raised? Date of invoices 1st of December. Determine the time of supply if Rajesh makes the payment on 1st of January or 5th of March. So here TOS will be what? The date of payment or 61st day from date of invoice or any other document which has been issued by the supplier. So whichever is earlier. Whichever is earlier. So 61st day will be 30 days for December and 30 days for January. So it will be 31st of January. 61st day is 31st of January. We have to see whether the payment has been made. In first case, it will be 1/1 because the payment has been made prior to 31st of January. Prior to 30th of January, it will be 31st of January here. 1st of January will be the time of supply. In second case, it will be 31st of January. In second case, it will be 31st of January. When the payment is made on 5th of March, it will be, say, 31st of the January. Okay. Next, let us see next one. On 4th of September, V.R. Mehmam, a music composer, received rupees 3 crores as a consideration on 4th of September as a consideration from Jhilmil Music Company Limited, from Jhilmil Music Company Limited for sale of his copyright of his original music album. Sale of copyright of, say, original music album. He finished the work and made available the CD to the music company on 20th of July. Okay. And he raised the invoice on 24th of July. 24th of July, the invoice has been raised. And what is the time of supply? This service is chargeable to tax. Temporary transfer of copyrights chargeable to tax under RCM. So here 24th of July. So time of supply will be what? In this particular case, the time of supply will be the date of payment or 61st day from date of invoice, which I say earlier, whichever is earlier. So 24th of July. So 7 days for July, 31 days for August, and for September. So here 60 minus 38. It is 22nd of September. Now here, since payment is made within 60 days of the date of invoice, time of supply will be what? 4th of September. It will be 4th of September. Basically, what is the time of supply? Date of payment. What is the date of payment? Date when the payment has been entered in the books of accounts of recipient, or the date when the payment is debited from his bank account, which I said earlier, or it is 61st day from the date of invoice. 61st day from the date of invoice. So here, since the payment is made within 60 days from the date of invoice, the time of supply will be what? 4th of September. Time of supply will be 4th of September. Then Apte and Apte is located in India and holding 51% shares of Wilson Limited. Now Wilson Limited is a US based company, and Apte Limited is holding 51% shares. So they are basically what? Associated enterprise. Okay. Wilson Limited provides business auxiliary services to Apte and Apte. BAS, business auxiliary services. From the following details, determine the time of supply of Apte and Apte Limited. Agreed consideration is $1 lakh. Agreed consideration is $1 lakh. Date on which services is provided by Wilson, it is 16/12. Date when the services provided by Wilson is 16/12. Date on which invoice is sent by Wilson, it is 19/12. Date when the invoice is sent by Wilson is 19/12. Okay. Date of debit in the books of accounts of Apte and Apte is 30/12, and date when the payment is made. So here, in case of associated enterprise, we don't have to see 60 days. What is the time of supply? Time of supply is the date of debit in the books of accounts or date of payment, whichever is earlier. So your time of supply will be 30/12. In this case, the time of supply will be 30/12. Now one more question. Determine the time of supply in these cases, assuming that they are chargeable under RCM. So first is reverse charge basis. Date of payment by recipient of services on 10/12. Date of issue of invoice by the supplier is on 29/8. So whether the invoice has been issued, say whether the payment has been made within 60 days from the date of issuance of invoice. Let us see 2 days for August, September and October. October here is 28 days. So if the payment is made, here payment has been made within 60 days, the time of supply will be 10/10. In this case, time of supply will be 10/10. Then 1st of August, payment is made on 10/10. So it will be 30 days for August, 30 days for September. Here time of supply will be 1st of October. In second case, the time of supply will be 1st of October, as the payment is not made within 60 days from the date of invoice. Now here, 29/8. Part payment is made on 30th of August and one is on the 1 of 11. 1/11. So here, 61st day from date of invoice is how much? This was 2 days for August, then this is September, and this is October. 28th of October is 60 days. 28th of October. Now here, what they are making? They are making payment on 30th of August. So to the extent of the payment made, to the extent of payment made on 30th of August. On 30th of August, the time of supply will be, here, 30th of August, and for balance, it will be 28th of 29th of October. For balance, it will be 29th of October. You can verify it. 30th of August, and for balance, it will be 29th of October. Then here, on 1st of August, payment is entered on 28th of August and 30th of August. So they are all made within 30 days. So 28th and 30th, 28th and part payment has been entered. Okay. They are saying payment has been entered in the books of accounts on 28th of August and debited in the recipient bank's account on 30th of August. So it will be 28th of August will be the date of payment. Date of payment is 28th of August. Here payment is entered on 30th of August and has been debited in the bank account on 26th of August. So basically, it will be time of supply will be 26th of August itself, because payment has been made prior to the issuance of invoice. So in this case, it will be 26th of August. So that was about the reverse charge mechanism. Then, from the following information, determine time of supply where supply is issue of voucher for same nature of service. So here, supply is identifiable at the time of issuance of voucher. If supply is identifiable at the time of issuance of voucher. So what is basically the time of supply? Here first service is on 1st of January. Issuance of voucher is on 1st of January. Redemption of voucher is on 31st of October. And last date of acceptance of voucher is on 31st of December. So time of supply will be 1st of January itself, because supply is identifiable here. Then from the following information, determine the time of supply of service. Voucher is valid for 1 year. The same is issued for receipt after supply of service for any of the services or goods. So here supply is not identifiable at the time of issuance of voucher. Time will be about at the time of redemption of voucher. So first service has been there of delivery of goods, 1st of January. Issuance of voucher is also on 1st of January. Redemption of voucher is on 14th of December. Time of supply will be on 14th of December. Then an income tax search was carried out at the residential premises of X working in multinational company. In course of search, large volumes of undisclosed assets were found, which he claims as a service income. On basis of the GST authority investigates the GST liability and dates of provision of service, whether in first half or second half, is scrutinized by the income tax authorities. X voluntarily pays the GST on investigation. So he is not registered under GST. He is working under a multinational company. So here, the time of supply will be what? The date of payment. In case residuary cases, it is basically the date of payment, when the X makes payment, because he is not required to furnish the periodical returns. So that was relating to statutory provisions relating to section 13, which we have discussed here, and the practical questions. Now the next section is section 14, that is dealing with determination of time of supply, in case of change in rate of tax. Now what we are having here is, say, there is change in rate of GST. Change in rate of GST takes place on, say, 1st of October. Now we are having 3 events. Change is taking place on 1st of October. It's very simple. Change is taking place on 1st of October. Say earlier the rate was, say, 5%. Prior to 1st of October it was 5%. It has been enhanced to 18%. It is one case. Or say earlier the rate was 18% and now it has been made 5%. And now it has been made 5%. So it's a change in rate of tax. It is a change in rate of tax. Now see, if a supply is made, it may be a possibility that supply is made before change in rate of tax. Before change in rate of tax. We are having these. One is a supply. One event is supply. One is the date of invoice. And one is the date of payment. These are the 3 things. Everywhere these 3 things are there. And here in section 14, majority rules apply. What apply? Majority rule. Out of these 3 events, if any of the 2 events occur together, any of the 2 events occur together, that will be the basic factor for determining the time of supply. Say for example, here in this particular case, if supply was made on 25th of September, and invoice was issued on 28th of September, if invoice was issued on 28th of September and payment is received on, say, 10th of October. Now what 2 events occur together? Supply has been effected prior to the change in rate of tax. Invoice is issued prior to change in rate of tax. This is the majority. 2 rules, 2 events occur together. So time of supply in this case will be what? Date of invoice. Time of supply will be date of invoice, and the old rate will apply. Here old rate will apply because old rate invoice is issued on 20th of September. Date of payment is the only event that occurs after change in rate of tax. And what is basically date of payment? Understand. What is normal date of payment? What is date of payment? Date of payment is the date when payment is entered in books of accounts, or date when payment is credited in bank account. when payment is credited in bank account. Whichever is earlier. Whichever is earlier. We have seen this. This is basically the date of payment. This is basically the date of payment. But here it has also been provided that if you receive any payment through, say, any instrument to be credited in the bank account. So we have received the payment, we have recorded the payment, say on 28th of September. We have recorded the payment on 28th of September. Change takes place on which date? Change takes place on 1st of October. Change takes place on 1st of October. Now they say that if the payment is credited within 4 working days, within 4 working days, if payment is credited in bank account within 4 working days from the date of change in rate of tax, say there is no holiday in between and the payment gets credited up to 5th of October, then what will be the date of payment? Date of payment will be the date when the payment is entered in books, 28th of September, or the date when the payment has been credited in the bank, 5th of October, whichever is, say, earlier. Here it is this. But if payment is not credited within 4 working days from the date of change in rate of tax, then what will be the date of payment? If payment is not credited within 4 working days, then date of payment will be what? 4 working days from change in rate of tax. Not from the date when you enter in the books. Date of payment will be the date when payment is credited in bank account. Credited in bank account. Now here, the date of payment, say for example, it is credited in the bank account on 7th of October. Whether it takes place within 4 working days? No. Then date of payment in that case will be what? 7th of October. In case if the payment is credited within 4 working days from the date of change in rate of tax, then the date of payment will be determined as per the normal manner, that is date when the payment has been entered in books or the date when the payment has been credited in the bank account. What we were discussing was how you will be determining the time of supply in case of change in rate of tax. What you have to see is what 2 events occur together. Now say if change takes place on 1st of October, date of payment is as per the entry in books or the payment has been credited in the bank account which was earlier. So it is on 28th of September. Supply has been made on, date of supply is on say 25th of September. Payment date is 28th of September and date of invoice is say on 5th of October. Then what will be basically the time of supply here? It will be these 2 events occur together before change. These 2 events occur together before change. So the time of supply will be what? Here the date of payment and old rate will apply. Old rate will apply. Now say date of completion of supply of services on 25th of September. 25th of September. Date of invoice is on 5th of October. Date of invoice is on 5th of October. And date of payment is also on say 10th of October. So here now this event is separate. Change takes place on 1st of October. So time of supply will be date of invoice or date of payment which is earlier, that is 5th of October. Time of supply is say 5th of October, date of invoice or date of payment which is earlier. So let us see. Determination of time of supply. Determination of time of supply in case of change in rate of tax. Determination of time of supply in case of change in rate of tax. So notwithstanding anything contained in section 12 or section 13, notwithstanding anything contained in section 12 or section 13, the time of supply where there is change in rate of tax, the time of supply where there is change in rate of tax in respect of goods or service or both shall be determined in the following manners. Given an overriding effect over 12 or 13, you have to don't go for 12 or 13. So in case goods or services, it's applicable. Remember section 14 applies to both goods and services. It applies to both goods and service section. This section basically applies to both goods and services. So in case of say goods or services or both, they have been supplied before change in rate of tax. They have been supplied say before change in rate of tax. So where the invoice has been issued, and payment is also received after change in rate of tax. Invoice has been issued and payment has been received after change in rate of tax. These two events occur together after. So here the time of supply will be the date of invoice or date of payment, which as earlier new rate will be applicable because both of the things have been issued afterwards. Now where invoice has been issued prior to change in rate of tax, supply has been made before, invoice has been issued before, but payment is received afterwards. What two events occur together? Supply of service before change, invoice before change. So here majority goes there before. Therefore time of supply will be date of issuance of invoice, old rate will apply. Time of supply is date of issuance of invoice, old rate will apply. Then when the payment has been received before the change in rate of tax, but invoice for the same has been issued after the change in rate of tax. Invoice has been issued after change in rate. So two event is what? Supply of service before, payment before, invoice afterwards. Time of supply is date of receipt of payment, old rate will apply. Then in case the goods or services have been supplied, after change in rate of tax, goods or services have been supplied after say change in rate of tax. So what is the time of supply here? Where payment is received after change in rate of tax. Payment is after, but invoice has been issued prior. So two events occur together, supply afterwards, payment afterwards. Supply afterwards, payment afterwards. So date of receipt of payment will be the time of supply and applicable rate will be what? New rate. Applicable rate will be new rate. Where invoice has been issued and payment is received before change and supply has been made after change. So these two events occur together. Invoice before, payment before. Time of supply will be what? Earlier of. Date of receipt of payment, date of issue of invoice. Old rate will say apply. Then when the invoice has been issued after change in rate of tax, say change in rate of tax, but payment is received before change in rate of tax. So supply is afterwards. Invoice is afterwards. Payment is before. Payment is, separate. These two events, invoice and supply takes place afterwards. Date of issuance of invoice will be the time of supply and new rate will be applicable. What is date of receipt of payment? Date of receipt of payment is the date when the payment is entered in the books of accounts of the supplier or the date when the payment has been credited in his bank account. Date when the payment is entered in the books or date when the payment has been credited in the bank account, which I said earlier. However, the date of receipt of payment shall be the date of credit in bank account if such credit in bank account is after 4 working days. 4 working days from the date of change in rate of tax. 4 working days from the date of say change in rate of tax. So majority rule you have to see in this particular case. Now let us discuss the questions of the change in rate of tax. Determine the time of supply in the following cases. The rate of GST has been increased with effect from 1st of October. It has been increased from 5% to 12%. Earlier it was 5%. Now it has been increased to 12% with effect from 1st of October. Now here the date of supply is say before change. Invoice is afterwards and payment is afterwards. So these two events occur together. What two events occur together? Invoice is issued afterward, payment is received afterwards. The value of service is 20 lakh rupees. So which rate will be applicable? What is the time of supply? Date of issuance of invoice or date of payment, whichever is earlier. So TOS in this case will be what? Time of supply will be 5th of October, date of invoice or date of payment. And new rate will be applicable, rate of 12% will be applicable. So here the liability will be on 20 lakhs, 12%, 240. Okay, this way you have to do. Then supply of services on 25/9. Date of invoice is on 25/9. But date of receipt of payment is on 8/10. So what two events occur together? This is before, this is before, this is afterwards. So here majority rule is with the supply and invoice. So TOS will be date of invoice, that is 25/9, that is 25/9, and rate will be what? The rate as prevalent on 25/9 is 5%. So on this 10 lakh, 5% GST will be levied, that is 50,000 rupees. On this 10 lakh, 5% GST will be levied, that is what? 50,000 rupees. Then date of supply of services on 25/9. Date of supply of services on 25/9. Date of invoice is on 8/10. Date of payment is on 39. This is before, this is after, this is before. So majority rule goes with before. So time of supply will be what? Date of payment. Always it is time of supply is either date of invoice or date of payment. So it's date of payment. Here also old rate will apply 5%, 75,000 rupees. Next is date of supply of services on 4/10 after change in rate of tax. Date of invoice is on 28/9 and payment is on 39. So date of invoice or date of payment, which is here these two, this is before, this is also before, this is after. So time of supply is date of invoice or date of payment, whichever is earlier. Whichever is earlier. Here 28/9 will be the TOS. Old rate will apply. In this, old rate of 5% will be applicable. Liability will be 1 lakh rupees. Okay. Then here, this is change after. This is also after, but payment is before. Payment is before. So time of supply will be date of invoice. New rate will be applicable. New rate will be applicable. Now this is a date of supply of service 4/10. Date of invoice 39. This is after. This is before. Date of payment is after. So TOS will be what? DOP, date of payment here, because these two events occur afterwards. So this will be the rate of tax here. The rate of tax will be, the new rate of 12%, 180. So in first case it was, we have seen 240, then it was 50,000, then again it was 75,000, then we have seen the old rate here, 1 lakh, and then 12% new rate, 120 and 180, 120 and 180. Okay, so this way majority rule you have to see. Next see. Let us see the next question. A service provider supplied service on 1st of December for value of 25 lakhs. So date of supply is 1st of December. Value is 25 lakhs. He issued invoice on 30th of November. Date of invoice is 30th of November. 30th of November. And received the payment through account pay check, and same was entered in the books on 30/11. Date when payment is entered in books. When payment is entered in books is 30/11. Okay, it is 30/11. The check was deposited in bank on 4/12 and same was credited in his bank account on 9/12. Date of credit in bank is 9/12. 9/12 is the date of credit in bank. The said service was taxable at rate of 5% prior to 1st of December. 1st of December it was what? 5%. And the rate has been increased to 12% with effect from 1st of December. On 3rd of December, there was a public holiday, discuss the GST liability. So we see the 4 working days from date of change in rate of tax. 4 working days. If there would have been no holiday, it would have been 5th of December. Now it is 6th of December. Whether you receive the payment up to 6th of December, are you receiving the payment up to 6th of December? What will be the date of payment? The date when the payment has been entered in the books, or the date when the payment has been, say, credited in the bank, which was earlier. But here, the payment is not received within, say, 4 working days. So date of payment is what? In this case, date of payment is 9/12. Date of payment is 9/12. Date of payment is 9/12. Date of invoice is what? Date of invoice is date of invoice. Date of invoice is on 30/11. Date of invoice is on 30/11. And date of supply of service? Date of supply of service is on, he has supplied the service. The said service was supplied on which date? He has supplied the service on 1st of December. He has supplied the service on 1st of December. So what 2 events occur together? Supply of services afterwards. Payment has also been afterwards. So TOS will be what? Date of payment 9th of December. Date of payment 9th of December. New rate will apply. What is new rate? What is new rate? New rate is 12%. 12% rate will be made effective. 12% rate will be made effective. 12% is the rate which has been made effective. 12% on 25 lakhs. Your liability will be what? 3 lakh rupees. Liability will be 3 lakh rupees. If the payment would have been credited within 4 working days, then invoice prior, payment prior. Time of supply is date of invoice or date of payment, which I said earlier. Now next issue is, let us discuss one more question. X buys a motor car from a car dealer. X has made payment on the same and car dealer has issued the invoice in respect of the same on 25/10. So date of invoice is date of invoice. As per his payment, he has been released on 25/10. Okay. The car was delivered on 1/11. Car was delivered on 1/11. Date of supply is on 1/11. Date of supply is on 1/11. On occasion of birthday, on 26/10, the rate of motor car was revised upward and the car dealer is demanding the differential amount of tax. Rate of tax has been revised upward. Rate of tax. Is this the correctness on the part of dealer? Now here, the supply has been made before change in rate of tax. Payment has been received before change in rate of tax. 2 events occur together. 2 events occur before change in rate of tax. Change in rate of tax. 2 events occur before change in rate of tax. Time of supply is what? Date of invoice or date of payment, whichever say earlier. So here old rate will apply. The contention is wrong. Old rate will apply because the same has been issued on 25/10 and the rate has been enhanced with effect from 26/10. This is the last question which we'll be discussing. An online portal, online info, raises invoice for database access on 20th of March. Date of invoice is what? 20th of March. Okay. The payment is made by XYZ on demand draft sent on 24th of March. Date of payment DD has been made on 24th of March. Okay. And which is received and entered in the books of accounts on online info on 28th of March. And same gets encashed. DD gets encashed. And thereafter they give access on 4th of April. In meanwhile, the rate has been changed. Now, what is the time of supply? So, basically, here the supply has been made after change in rate of tax. Invoice has been issued prior to change in rate of tax. Invoice has been issued prior to change in rate of tax. And payment has also been received. Payment has also been received prior to change in rate of tax. Okay, the time of supply is date of invoice or date of payment, which I said earlier. We are presuming that the payment demand draft is credited in the bank on the same day. Therefore, in this case, service supply becomes after change in rate of tax. The old rate will apply, two events occur together. So, an invoice and receipt of payment entry in the books of accounts of online info occurred before change in rate of tax. Time of supply of service will be what is the earlier of date of issuance of invoice or the date of receipt of payment. Say whichever say earlier. So this was all about what time of supply of service. Section 14 is important from examination point of view. Two event majority rule you have to remember: out of supply, invoice and payment. And date of payment is what? The date when the payment is entered in books or the date when the payment is credited in the bank account, which was earlier. But if payment is not credited within 4 working days from the date of change in rate of tax, date of payment will be what? The date when the payment is credited in the bank account. Then you don't have to go for books. So this was all about time of supply. Tomorrow we'll be starting with the next chapter.